Good evening. I'm Caitlin Panicetti, Class Marshal and Master of Ceremonies for Tewksbury Memorial High School's 83rd Commencement Exercises. At this time, I would like to welcome Selectmen Mark Kratman and Jay Kelly, Legislative Aide David Robertson, School Committee members Chrissy Palomino, Jamie Cutlass, Dennis Francis, Arthur Bennett, and Keith Sullivan, Superintendent Chris Malone, Assistant Superintendent Brenda Reagan, Director of Student Services Rick Pelletier, Interim Director of Community Services Dr. Cynthia Besteri, and parents, faculty, friends, and of course our class of 2018. At this time, please rise as the Tewksbury Memorial High School Band under the direction of Miss Heather Ware plays the Star Spangled Banner. Thank you, Ms. Ware, and the members of the TMHS band. Please be seated. Before we begin, I would like to thank the staff in the main office, the guidance office, the food services department, the facilities department, the maintenance department, and the custodial staff for their work for preparing this special night. It is my pleasure at this time to introduce Superintendent Mr. Chris Malone.
Good evening, parents, guardians, family members, school committee members, selectmen, staff members, and friends. We are here to honor the tradition of graduation for the Tewksbury Memorial High School class of 2018. This ceremony is a culmination of a 12-plus year relationship with these students in front of you, resulting in their passage onto adulthood and hopefully towards a life built on a strong educational foundation. At some point, all of you must ask yourselves, what have I learned in my time in Tewksbury Public Schools? This question may seem odd at first, but as you get older and gain even further education or life experience, you should always continue to ask this question to yourself. What have I learned? As I reflect on my 2 years here in Tewksbury, I continually ask the question, what have I learned? When I think about the class of 2018, it has become clear what I have learned. And in these times of constant and sensitive social media communication, it is better to judge people on their actions rather than on what they say. For me, those actions come down to one singular event that took place this year. And even though there are many to select from, such as the new senior project, academic and scholarship awards, and even some of your extracurricular success stories, it all came down to one day in November in this very gym. On that day, a simple athletic competition occurred between Tewksbury, North Andover, Methuen, and Lawrence, involving many people, but primarily set up by Mr. Aylwood and Mr. Druin. I watched this competition intently, which only involved about a total of 30 of our students, but yet I cannot remember the exact outcome or who won. This was the first ever Merrimack Valley Unified Basketball League tournament, partnering some of our students with disabilities with other members of the TMHS student body in an athletic competition which held the same magnitude of any varsity sport here in Tewksbury. Watching our students working together, building friendships, breaking down barriers is one of the most moving experiences of my 20 years in education. What did I learn? I learned that the class of 2018 established a positive school culture where anything is possible. I learned that if you, the class of 2018, continues to promote that culture in all aspects of your future learning and life experiences, our world will be a happier place. On behalf of the Tewksbury School Committee, I want you to know that we are proud of your accomplishments, and you have all made Tewksbury a better place. Your mission now is to go out and make the world a better place. You know, it just dawned on me, I do know who won the Merrimack Valley Unified Basketball Tournament. We all did. Congratulations, class of 2018, and remember, never stop asking, what have I learned today? Congratulations.
At this time, please welcome Principal Kristen Vogel for her remarks and the presentation of the Principal's Award and Teacher's Choice Award.
To our graduating seniors, go climb a mountain. In fact, climb every mountain. I am sure you are wondering, what does that have to do with life or a graduation ceremony? In fact, it is the perfect metaphor for the challenges of life beyond high school. Since I have been 5 years old, I have been climbing mountains. To date, I have hiked 38 of the 48 4,000-foot mountains in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I have also hiked the highest peaks in the Green Mountains and the Adirondacks. In fact, I have hiked many of the 38 peaks in the White Mountains multiple times. And every one of those mountains was different and presented its own challenges. They have also created opportunities to grow and gain perspective. I can assure you that life will present you with challenges daily. However, every time I reach a summit, I think about the obstacles and challenges I faced along the trail. I also reflect on the journey and the preparation to get to the summit. Always remember, when you reach the summit, you are only halfway done. An important part of every journey is the preparation. Before hiking a 4,000-foot mountain, it is important to know where you're going and make sure that you have the right gear to face the challenges of the mountains. Preparing to hike a mountain and embrace the challenges of life are similar. You envision a goal, you muster the strength and commitment to reach the top, you navigate the difficult terrain by being thoughtful and strategic about every step and decision you make. When faced with challenges in life, you think about how you are going to navigate it. You are going to be strategic about who you talk to for advice and who you will strive to model. You are going to be thoughtful about your decisions as you navigate the difficult terrain and times. We are all climbing mountains every day, and you have all that you need to tackle any mountain in life. You have sharpened pencils in your education, and now you will sharpen your senses. Use your good judgment when facing your mountains in your life. When you pick your hiking buddies, consider their strengths. Do they complement yours? These make the best matches for any mountain. Plan your hike. No challenges will come your way, but your perseverance and preparation will embolden you to push forward. Know that sometimes you will walk slowly, plodding along. These are the difficult days. But know this too. Another will begin anew with bright possibilities. Sometimes your gear will fail you. You will be disappointed. But trust yourself and know that you have the experience to soldier through. You've got tremendous potential and mad skills to carry you on. Remember, as you leave Tewksbury Memorial High School to explore and experience the world outside of Tewksbury, Massachusetts, find your mountain. use your courage, strength, and knowledge to overcome the challenges and obstacles along the way. The journey is what is most important, and the challenges are opportunities for your continued growth. The world welcomes you, and I challenge you to lace up, grab a map, and find your mountain. Every year, we recognize 2 seniors with 2 special awards. The faculty of TMHS nominated and voted to select the 2 winners. It is a tremendous honor to be selected by the entire faculty to receive one of these awards. The 2 awards are the Teacher's Choice Award and the Principal's Award. The Teacher's Choice Award. This award is given annually to a senior nominated and chosen by the faculty who exemplifies the spirit of TMHS. This year's winner is a well-rounded young man who exhibits a strong commitment to both academics and extracurricular activities. He is an enthusiastic learner and a dedicated leader in several clubs, including class council, best buddies, drama club, and chorus. He has played football, basketball, and baseball at TMHS, and he consistently sets himself apart as a role model to others because of his work ethic, strong character, and likable personality. He is a friend to all and has positively contributed in some way to nearly every aspect of the TMHS community. Our school is a kinder place because of him. This year's Teacher's Choice Award winner is Scott Massapequa. Principal's Award. This award is given annually to a senior nominated and chosen by the faculty who has exhibited excellence and a strong commitment to academics and extracurricular activities. This year's student is an individual that truly understands the power of positivity and leading by example. She has excelled in the classroom, on the athletic field, and in service to our community. Her compassion shines through in all she does, whether it is helping a classmate, being a friendly face in the hallway, or working hands-on with patients in a clinical setting. She has taken the time to develop meaningful relationships with her teachers, learn from her coaches, and show compassion to her peers. We as a faculty are keenly aware of and impressed by not only her accomplishments as a student here, but by the immense potential we see in her to make our world a better place. This year's Principal Award goes to Brooke Lamoth.
Seated on the floor to the left of the stage are members of our faculty and staff. Faculty, would you please rise? We applaud your commitment and contributions to the TMHS graduating class. I would also like to recognize 4 of the members of our faculty who are retiring. Ms. Susan Sullivan of the CTBE Department, Ms. Patricia Reiser of the Health and Wellness Department, Ms. Karen Ferreira of the Health and Wellness Department, and Ms. Mary Eldringhoff, Librarian. Thank you for your dedication to the students of Tewksbury. It is my pleasure to introduce our valedictorian, Felicia Rigucci, to read her graduation essay.
I have a sticky note on my desk that says, "This too shall pass." During the year, when I was stressed about college applications, schoolwork, and other things, that's what my dad would always tell me. So I wrote it down and stuck it right in front of me, as a reminder that whatever stressful thing I had to do was only temporary. But in the midst of all the craziness of our senior year, I forgot that this simple adage applied to high school itself. 4 years have flown by, and now high school too has passed. Yes, we are glad there's no more homework, tests, or essays, but this freedom comes with a price. For the first time in our lives, we won't get to see our family, friends, and the people we have grown up with every day. We won't see the teachers, faculty, and staff who have had more important impacts on our lives than they might think. Some of us will be far from home and need to finally learn how to do our own laundry. Yet, as overwhelming as this all sounds, know that this change is for the best. It is time for us to move forward, a little older, wiser, and maybe even more mature, onto the next great adventure. While struggling to decide what I should say to you all today, I came across one of the oddest quotes I've ever heard by one of my favorite writers, Henry David Thoreau. This is what he has to say. Yes, though you may think me perverse, if it were proposed to me to dwell in the neighborhood of the most beautiful garden that ever human art contrived, or else of a dismal swamp, I should certainly decide for the swamp. Though I initially laughed at it, when I actually thought for a moment, I realized that there is some really valuable advice hidden behind Thoreau choosing to live in a gross swamp rather than a beautiful garden. The garden is not a natural thing. It is created by humans. In the garden, everything is old and familiar. Every flower and plant and decoration has been specifically picked and positioned and perfected. All imperfections and oddities have been swept away in favor of conformity and organization. There is nothing new, nothing unique. In the garden, you are simply an idle admirer. But in the dismal swamp, you are so much more than that. You are an explorer, a pioneer of the unknown. The swamp is untouched by humans. It is completely natural. There is so much more to learn about and be discovered in the swamp than in the garden. Hundreds of species of plants and flowers, thousands more of insects and other creatures inhabiting both the land and water. Everything about the swamp is imperfect and unique, which makes it so much more interesting and exciting than the garden. And the swamp is a challenge. While the garden is designed for a leisurely walk with its straight paths and clear directions, the swamp is a maze with all sorts of twists and turns and obstacles to navigate. The swamp requires you to think, to innovate, to create. It pushes you past your perceivable limits and into territory where you can learn and grow and become a whole lot more of an interesting person than if you were to just sit in the garden and stare at the pretty flowers. I hope you all find the courage throughout your lives to leave the garden every so often and enter the swamp. It's all too easy for us to fall into a comfortable routine and never break the pattern. It's easy to anchor ourselves in what is familiar to us and never dare to venture to see what is beyond that line that separates us from the rest of the world. It's easy to stay silent rather than speak, to stay motionless rather than move, to conform to the image society has created for us rather than break free from those restraints and be true to ourselves. That's the garden. That's where we feel safe and relaxed and even content. But it's also where we feel bored, where we feel like there's something missing. If you go into the swamp by leaving your comfort zone, taking risks, and having faith in yourself, you will find life to be so much more rewarding in the end. Today, we as a class leave the garden that is Tewksbury High School and enter our swamps. College, the workforce, the armed forces, and the list goes on. Wherever you are going, remember to embrace the unknown and be excited about all the opportunity that lies ahead. Before you all walk out of this building as high school graduates, I want to use my final words to remind you of the bigger picture. Compared to the scale of the universe, we are all tiny, insignificant specks of stardust. We live on a ball of rock, floating in space, in a solar system not unlike the billions of others in the Milky Way galaxy. There are billions of other galaxies in our universe, a place so big that we have no idea where it begins or ends. And we barely understand the fundamental concepts of space, time, life, death, and the very nature of reality itself. In a world so much more complicated and intricate than we could ever imagine, the only way we can keep ourselves sane is by knowing that we are not alone. Our journey through the infinite darkness is made meaningful by being surrounded by the people most important to us. As Stephen Hawking, a man who knew the universe better than most, once said, "It would not be much of a universe if it wasn't home to the people you love." Thank you and congratulations, class of 2018.
It is my pleasure to introduce our salutatorian, Stephanie Tam, to read her graduation essay.
In Miss O'Hara's first grade math class, she asked, would you prefer 4 quarters or $1? The class was silent, and as I did the math over and over again in my head, I couldn't think of which I'd prefer. How she could ask such a meaningless question, because the more I thought of it, the more it kept adding to 200 cents both ways. Then I realized I couldn't count, and then I realized I didn't understand the concept of money. But eventually, I figured out they were both worth 100 cents. And yet, I was still very confused as to how we could prefer one over the other when they were worth the same amount. But shameless as I've always been, I raised my hand completely uncertain, and I made my own answer choice of none of the above. Quietly and inquisitively, I asked, neither, I think? She was absolutely overjoyed to know she had gotten through to at least one student, and that someone had finally grasped the real concept of what we were doing. I mean, I know now that I prefer a dollar bill over loose change any day, but that's besides the point. This question I had thought to be so meaningless was actually a question I carried with me for the rest of my schooling career. These were simpler times, where we learned to add 17 pineapples to our carriage, devastatingly learned how to subtract money, graciously learned how to multiply our earnings, and then once more devastatingly learned about this division we call college debt. It is okay though, because when we learned about homophones, we looked at our parents and said, oh, it's not that there is a debt to be paid, it's that it's their debt to be paid. But there are 2 things I learned from this experience. First, we are unsure of our answers, which I've become aware of more often than I'd like to admit. But it is because our vision is tunneled into the precedented choices preceding us. Yet sometimes, the best solution is none of the above. It is a decision that we make for ourselves and dare to choose, no matter how much we trust what we know to be true. But most importantly, I learned that value is not split. You can split $1 into 4 quarters, and divided, it is still worth $1. We have our friend groups and separation of faculty and students, but considering aspects of sports, education, and everything this school has to offer, we regard this school as a very tight-knit community. If you look to your left and your right, you're probably looking at people who you've gone to school with for a decent amount of time, but you will likely not be going to the same school as both of these people this coming fall if you choose to go to school at all. But it is our division of the dollar, us going our separate ways, and this does not undermine our value. In the end, the class of 2018 and everyone who has become a part of it along the way is still worth that one precious dollar, maybe even 2, because our strength is in the whole. Through the years, I hear inevitable complaints about schoolwork and how we're expected to learn certain concepts, juggle extracurriculars, but I've never once heard a student who had to face anything alone. When we were unanimously on the verge of tears, a certain someone sacrificed hours of her precious Saturday evenings at Papagino's to make sure we got whatever help we needed before every chemistry test. Traveling on the other side of the world, I slammed my knee on a metal pomegranate, and there were still people scooping me up under my arms and going to random restaurants in Spain asking for a bag of ice. On some of the toughest days of my life, I would find a smiling teacher silently placing a smiley sticker on my lab book and patting it a couple times for good luck. Or a man threatening detention if we touched his pet marmot. It is the fact that there is no student who stands alone in this school that we have our strength in numbers. Perhaps it is easier to carry ourselves as a dollar bill, but even as heavier individual coins, we will never lose who we are or our worth. And who are we? We are the class where a 14-year-old has gray hair. We are the class that cried a new Great Lake into existence. We are sticker wars, pet potatoes, and superhero spirit days. I've seen a solid 6 people fall on the stairs trying to get to class. But this just shows this is the class I've seen divide and conquer every challenge the world threw at us, whether it was piloting the new schedule in the most critical year of our high school career, or stepping up to raise hundreds and thousands of dollars with our spare time, whether it be for enormous natural disasters or simply a few presents under the tree on Christmas morning at a children's home. We are the man, the myth, and the legend, but we are also strength in numbers. We are also compassion and character, and we are the class of 2018. Congratulations.
It is my pleasure to introduce our final distinguished speaker, Hayden Nosted. This student's essay was selected by a faculty committee to present to you this evening.
Before I start, I would just like to wish Kenny Small a happy birthday. Life is like a highway. You're racing down a road at extremely high speeds, fast enough that you start to question the sanity of doing such a thing, whilst other people around you are matching, if not exceeding, your speed mile for mile. You don't quite remember where you got on or where you get off, because all the exits start to look the same, and all the while you're trying to push down the anxiety stemming from what has to be recognized as dangerous. But the fact that it's dangerous doesn't matter, because everybody has somewhere to be, and everybody has to try and race to the finish line, or at least get as close to it as they can, even though there isn't a tangible finish line, really. And going so fast means that the only ways you can get off are by slowing the hell down, or crashing into someone or something in what will likely be a huge explosion brought on by some very poorly made decisions. I don't know what else you were expecting from me. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's very depressing, overextended metaphors. If you didn't quite get what I was implying at the end there, it was that in the modern day, we all tend to race towards some undefinable end at the cost of some of our sanity and safety. But at the rate we're going, it's hard to slow down without endangering someone or something. What reason is there for going so fast then? Ambition, arrogance, and peer pressure seem to be the driving factors. That's not necessarily to say that traveling at these speeds is definitely a bad thing. But by going so fast, even if you're the sort of person who thrives on the exhilaration that comes with it, lots of things, opportunities and people and special moments will be there and gone in an instant. Given that all of us here are of the legal age to drive, I'm going to take some liberties and assume that a good majority of us know the basic rules of the highway. Stick to the speed limit, keep the wheel straight. Nope, still can't say that with a straight face. Keep the wheel steady, know your exit, and merge and leave with caution. But you all also probably know the more unspoken rules of the road, the ones that aren't explicitly stated, but everyone knows anyway, either because they apparently stem from pure common sense, or because everyone watches everyone else as they learn to drive and learn them subconsciously. Go too fast, and you're endangering yourself and others around you. Go too slow, and you might create the same effect. If you don't watch what you're doing when you change gears, you might impede someone else's efforts, or even put them in danger. But if you hesitate too much, opportunities will pass you right on by. Life has dangers. our own species was created through the great distiller that we call evolution. In changing environments, the species that directly precede ours were tested and broken and tested again as they were molded into our first true ancestors, crafted like tempered steel. We have always faced hardships, and we always will, in some form or another, at least until we upload our minds into a nirvana. Personally, I like to think of life as some sort of miracle, balanced precariously on the very tip of a jagged cliff, existing despite the numerous odds against it and still shining brightly. But that doesn't mean that the dangers and hardships that surround it can be written off so lightly. Life is dangerous, and life will always have troubling times. Sometimes there will be a person or two to cut off your route on the highway, blocking your path and forcing you to wait for a new opportunity or, in less ideal situations, to frantically try to avoid danger yourself. Sometimes the roads are caked with ice and snow and rain that impedes every driver indiscriminately, with no one person responsible or with any just cause for appearing. Sometimes life will seem to come to an unending halt, as everyone watches either the moment or the aftermath of someone else crashing on the side of the highway in such a way that sucks the zeal out of everything, that makes time seem to come to a slow crawl. And it can be unbearable, being stuck in that endless cycle of moving forward and stopping with what feels like no progress, stuck in a dark pit with no easy way out. And it can be overwhelming, going so fast when all you want to do is take your foot off the gas pedal and switch to cruise control. That feeling can be so tempting sometimes, can't it? But to get the most out of life, we have to be wise, we have to be aware, and we have to keep an eye on what's going on around us. As much as you might want to shut your eyes to the horrors around you, you need to navigate the dangers and help to alleviate the risks that you or others might be subject to. We can get through any traffic jam, we can push past any danger, and if we need help, there's nothing wrong with pulling over to the side of the road and getting a battery jump start from a friend or assistance from a cop or a paramedic. Told you, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's overextended metaphors. Give me 5 minutes and I can come up with a dozen more parallels. Just try me. I guess what I'm trying to say here is this. Be careful and be mindful, but be excited. We're revving up speed to merge onto the great highway that we call society, the moment we've been building up for what seems like our entire lives so far. We're graduating. How wild is that? But even among all the excitement and hoopla, never forget that it's okay to break down once in a while. Nobody's perfect, and even if we're not going on the same journey together, and I think I speak for everyone when I say this, we can be there for each other, and we can come together when we need to. I may be cynical, but I know that for a fact. And listen, it doesn't matter the model of the car, how it's designed, how it was manufactured, who it was manufactured by, what we've done to change it, what accidents or trials this car has been through. Every single person I'm speaking to today is an individual, is inimitable, and is indivisible. We are separate, we are disparate, we are the same, but at the same time completely incomparable. But we are all traveling down this road. Maybe not together, maybe not even for a common goal, but we're here. Let's make the most of the universe's ultimate road trip, yeah? Thank you.
At this time, I would like to invite Rachel Sessa, class president, to the stage for the presentation of the class gift.
Happy birthday, Kenny. Just a couple things while I have the mic. Class out there, this week, these 4 years really wouldn't have been possible without Edge. He gives so much credit to the class council, but I'd like to call up Class President Chris Mitchell to the stage. So Chris and I will be working together along with his class council and our class council to best use the leftover money. So the class gift is yet to be announced, but it'll be something awesome, I promise.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce Mr. Brian Desjardins as the faculty speaker for the class of 2018. Mr. Desjardins was selected by the class of 2018 to speak this evening. Mr. Desjardins is an English teacher here at TMHS.
I was just notified that there's a car with its lights on. The plate is Saucy 1, and there are bumper stickers reading, "Back off or I'll probe you," and "Get fresh with a local farmer." Hold on, that's me. Well, this is a fine fix I've found myself in, isn't it? I haven't stood in front of this many people since my sentencing. Kind of eerie. Students, administration, faculty, local and foreign dignitaries, members of the Hollywood Foreign Press, and Steve and Ed from my Model Railroad Club, it is an honor to address you today. Let me begin by letting you know that I was chosen to do this today by 40% of the students who voted. I was told that the next closest teacher had 17%, so I won by 23%. That's more than double. So take that, every other teacher in the building. Administration, since we're all on stage together, and since you can't make any excuses about having meetings to attend or emergency dental appointments, you have no choice but to listen to me. It seems like the perfect time to address a few things that have been bothering me about this school. For one, I would like to put shades on the teachers' rooms. Much of what happens in there involves forbidden dancing and ribald storytelling. The glass makes us feel like specimens at the Natural History Museum. And it's really uncomfortable when local Billabong sales representative Eamon Edgerton brings in his swimsuit samples and we want to try one on. And how about a Dunkin' Donuts kiosk in the lobby? It would cut down on tardiness and we could tax the heck out of it and pay for things we really need around here, like a petting zoo or a crying room or a guidance department. When Mr. O'Leary, a man with whom I have shared many emotional moments at sea, approached me in the hall and asked me to follow him to Principal Vogel's office, my first thought was, darn it, they checked the surveillance tapes, I'm done. When they told me that it was all a misunderstanding and that I had been the leading vote getter, 40%, I was shocked yet flattered. A very loud voice screamed, "No! Get up and leave this place, it's a trap." Another voice told me, "Not so fast, this is an honor, do it, even if it scares the heck out of you." A third voice, with a British accent, told me to steal Principal Vogel's fountain pen. How could I deprive you, the class of 2018, a last opportunity to hear me hold forth and maybe say something borderline insightful? I'm following in some big footsteps, however. Last year, Doolin's address was remarkable. He was focused, sincere, and flawless in his delivery. I aim to be none of those things today. This will be weird.
I never got into teaching thinking it would lead to this. I never got into teaching thinking. I sort of stumbled into it, nearly quit about 20 times during my first year, and 14 years later, here I am, wearing flowing robes underneath which I have decided to wear next to nothing, as my theme today is the truth, the semi-naked truth. My wife advised me not to say naked. I'm just kidding, Principal Vogel. I have on a lime green lycra body sock and my lucky leg warmers. I have divided up this address into the following sections: general life advice, college, career, the future, tourism, food service, railroads and sales, hospitals, manufacturing, and air travel. Everyone expects advice in a commencement address, and I started off with that very intention. I watched hundreds of commencement speeches and read just as many. It didn't take me long, though, to realize that almost all are the same and feature the same old, boring, predictable advice. For example, follow your dreams, or listen to your heart, or a kidnapping takes serious planning, or find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And all that sounds great. It really does. And we've gathered here in the best frame of mind in hopes of hearing some bit of wisdom that truly is fresh, that will serve us well in our new endeavors. Blah, 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 yuck. How many times can we hear that reheated pablum and take it seriously? Really? You want me to follow my dreams? Okay. Well, what happened when I tried to open up a bed and breakfast that caters to humans and their pet domesticated marmots? My dream wasn't economically feasible, and I was bankrupt in 6 weeks. So I figured I'd turn down the sunshine machine and give you guys some practical advice today that you can actually use in life. Because life is unpredictable and onion-scented, and it isn't afraid to hit below the belt. Section 1, hard-won wisdom and advice. Write this down. Number 1, learn a second language if you haven't already. Many say Spanish or Mandarin are useful languages to know, but I say pick a more popular language like Esperanto. It's catching on, and soon it will be the international language of commerce, or Klingon. Next, learn self-defense. If you aren't currently equipped to escape a lapel grab, a headlock, or a bear hug, you are vulnerable and need to do something about it. Rather than following dreams, follow Sensei Desjardins' advice and learn some jujitsu, so you can look after yourself and your loved ones. Plus, it will pay dividends when you enter the workplace and can dominate anyone at will. 3, treat your body like a temple. Exercise and nutrition are vital to your continued development as human beings. As I have, take the time to turn your body into a living, breathing, pulsing sculpture. Exercising for 6 to 8 hours a day, every day, even on Thanksgiving. As I have, developed lats that you can show movies on. Or a backside that around the gym is known as the Granite Avenger. The gym's in New Hampshire, and I break a lot of equipment by merely sitting on it. So ingest vast quantities of riboflavin and avoid eating any food that has calories. 4, develop a whimsical, inimitable personal style. Get away from the malls and online shopping. We're already surrounded by too much uniformity. Develop a flair for the bizarre, the eccentric, so you stand out in a crowd. For example, make your own trousers from brown paper bags and yarn and bits of cast-off fabric. No 2 pairs will be the same. Why buy Dockers when you can manufacture Mackins, or Wongs, or Bartavians? Buy a baby lynx and be the guy or gal who walks his lynx along the river. You'll meet lots of people that way, too. Wear very tall and brightly colored hats in which birds yearn to nest. Kidding. Become a credit to your community by volunteering. Hang around at the public library from open to close and ask the librarian at least once an hour if you can help her. When she reminds you that you don't work there, remind her that she needn't be short with you, and that volunteerism is vital to the well-being of our communities. The last bit of general wisdom I will impart to you is get a hobby. It will help you avoid being an insufferable know-it-all who has nothing better to do than offer your opinion at every opportunity, even when no one wants to hear it. I would suggest making corn husk dolls, as my friend Dwight does. College. If College isn't for everybody, guys. I'll tell you the unvarnished truth about higher education, and it might be painful, but you need to hear it. In college, you might have to live away from your parents. And that means that you won't be able to sit down to dinner with them each night and answer their queries in a patient, comprehensive way. You'll most likely be eating what you want, when you want, and much of the food will be fatty, sodium-filled, and really, really tasty. So would you rather have Mom's shake and bake pork chops or a pizza with Looney Larry from Delaware at like midnight as you belch the first two bars to your school's respective fight song? In classes? Sometimes. Get this, classes don't even start until like noon. What will you do until noon? You'll want to get up at 6 a.m. and get started, no doubt. And there will be days without classes. What will you do then? Sleep? Hang out with friends whom you barely know? At home, you could do yard work or take your grandfather out for a fishamajig and talk about McHale's Navy and Barbara Eden's Gams. In the parties, they're not even birthday parties, most of them. They happen for no reason. Sometimes they're raucous affairs, and people behave irresponsibly there, too. Wouldn't you rather be home watching CSI reruns and taking notes on biology slides? Of course you would. So college sounds pretty bad, huh? Well, it is. And you might become a communist to boot. If you let them know on Monday that you've changed your mind, it won't be too late. I just saved you about $500,000. Career. What if I choose the wrong one? Well, you will. But I can tell you what fields to avoid. Anything to do with STEM. What's with all this STEM business anyhow? No one even knows what it means. I think it has something to do with electricity and magnets and maybe sports, so what's the big deal? All you hear is STEM this and STEM that. Want to form a STEM club? Sure. Want to hire a STEM specialist? Sure. Sorry, Mr. Stamp, but the most recent career surveys from Small Businessman Monthly, to which I subscribe, says that the highest paying careers of the decade have nothing to do with STEM. They are as follows: poet, deli man, lighthouse keeper, fire tower spotter, blacksmith, violin repair person, cobbler comes next, and then bowling pin setter. And finally, ice delivery man. And then nanny for a geologist/botanist. And finally, mustache waxer. Nowhere on that list are any STEM careers. So think about your majors, guys. Those of you considering STEM might want to consider another field altogether. And what does college really get you? According to Small Businessman Monthly, you make less money with a college degree. And you have this sort of career to look forward to: mathematician, optometrist, nurse anesthetist, physical therapist, marketing manager, nurse, dental hygienist, lawyer, philanthropist, I meant to say. Dead ends, all of them. One moment. Okay. Here's some real advice. I can be serious for a minute or two. It's all, I mean all, up to you. Be sincere. Be true to who you are or think you are. Usually you're right about things like that. Don't stop doing what you love because time is short. It is. When you're 18, years stretch on in a seeming infinitude of time. Time to do what? To do those things that we want to do and aren't sure if we ever will. If you want to build an ark in your backyard, get going. If you want to hike the Appalachian Trail, get some thick socks, some PBA-free water bottles, handy wipes, and start walking, pal. If you want to turn to the girl or boy next to you and tell her or him what he or she means to you, then do it, and now. What you don't do, don't say, becomes regret. And regret piled up over years turns into some pretty foul-smelling stuff. Do you want to smell foully, like one of those porta-johns at a 3-day music and rib festival? Well, of course not. Do the things you want to do, and now. Can't stand it when people say that they're too old or don't have enough time. Balderdash. There's always a chance to make things better for yourself or someone you love, even if it's a tick at a time. And regarding time, find it. Carve it out of the day and hold on to it. It is yours. If it's 10 minutes to read a paper, to write a poem, to call a friend, a parent, do it. The rest of the stuff we have to do is waiting. The mundane stuff always waits for you to get back to it. If you're lucky enough to have your parents for years to come, try to imagine, as you get older, what it was like for them when you were young. You'll come to understand that what they did for you. who wants to do time studies. Not my father. He wanted to be in finance, but he sacrificed and kept food on the table, and me in intensive ballet training with the Bolshoi. Be appreciative. Be discerning. Not everything is worthy of your praise, but be effusive when you see a real talent or genius. And don't be afraid to speak up or call attention to what you believe to be an injustice or something smaller, an unkindness. Don't fall into traps, foolish consistencies, as Ralph Waldo Emerson would call them. And remember to throw all of this advice out of the window. You'll remember my hair, but not my words. Life is the great teacher. I'd also say that Mr. Desjardins, on one of his more lucid days, is pretty darn good himself. So sleep well, my students, and maybe even sleep in a little late, until Labor Day, that is. Then it's game on. In the words of Michael Scott, may your hats fly as high as your dreams. Thank you.
Please give a warm welcome to the TMHS chorus as they perform For Good from Wicked. Please welcome Dennis Francis of the Tewksbury School Committee to the podium to begin the presentation of diplomas.
Superintendent Malone, Principal Vogel, I present to you the class of 2018 for the conferring of diplomas. They have successfully completed all requirements set forth by the faculty, administration of Tewksbury Memorial High School, and the Tewksbury School Committee. Congratulations.
Alicia Ann Ragucci. Stephanie Tam. Caitlin Elizabeth Panisetti. Rachel Elizabeth Sessa. Scott Walter Mazzapica. Patrick John Hunt. Holly Elizabeth O'Leary. Hayden Marie Osted. Troy Peter Acancia. Daniel Joseph Adelsberger. Susanna Aguilar. Sophia Elizabeth Alfano. Lily Peng Allen. Shanice Almonte. Emily Rose Amaral. Alyssa Kathleen Anderson. Kevin Wesley Anderson. Nicholas Frank Andriatola. Timothy David Archer. Emma Jo Arsenal. Michael Anthony Bidek. Joseph Bartavian. Allison Rose Bichot. JC Marie Belger. Jason Benitez. Alexa Rose Bezgin. Sarah Murphy Bishop. Riley Grace Blodgett. Jamie Alexander Boyso. Nicholas Antonio Borges. Stephanie Patricia Bourgeois. Jesse Scott Bova. Matthew Joseph Breen. Erin Michelle Briley. Taylor Elizabeth Brothers. Joseph Timothy Brown. Catherine Joseph Butler. Reed Christopher Callanan. Kayla Elizabeth Carew. Peter Warren Carey. They're all done? Okay. Jack Reese Callanan. Kayla Elizabeth Carew. Peter Warren Carey. Patrick Thomas Carlton. Erin Patricia Carney. Dominic Anthony Carrillo. Kevin James Carter. Daniel Lewis Carter. James Benjamin Cash. Jordan Nicole Kavicki. Nicholas Paul Chinapi. Clarissa Louise Chisholm. Giovanni Antonio Champa. Sarah Rose Clapp. Madison Rose Clement. Sydney Jeanette Coquinos. Jake Daniel Cookingham. Shane Matthew Corson. James Bernard Costigan. Riley McCarthy Cody. Allison Barbara Couliard. Erin Lillian Grace Coulter. Thomas Paul Craig III. Stephanie Marie Cunningham. Shane Sebastian DeRigo. Danielle Marie Deck. William Jackson DeRoche. Molly Catherine Donahue. Alana Faith Dooling. Laura Francis Doran. Brent Camden Duffy. Jake Thomas Durant. David Anthony Durante. Hannah Louise Dwight. Nathan Douglas L. Abigail Rose Eskinos. Catherine Ann Famiglietti. Leonardo Emmanuel Rosa Fernandez. Rachel Elizabeth Faguccia. Drew Raymond Fletcher. Michael Damian Flynn. Joseph Christopher Gonzalez. Kasha Lillian Caldera Fontes. Joseph Ryan Forrest. Joshua Ryan Forlizzi. Samuel Roger Fortier. Zachary William Frontaine. J. Nalesh Gandhi. Destiny Ayana Giannetti. Kayla Joanna Giamo. William Anthony Giasulo. Joseph William Gioso Jr. Kelly Marie Galini. Megan Nicole Graysick. Stephanie Nicole Graffio. Devin Peter Harris. Trevor Evo Harris. Julia Ann Hartnett. Nicholas Joseph Heinz. Jared Michael Hickey. Blake Brian Hiltz. Braden Brian Hiltz. Alec Matthew Hurdle. Molly Irene Hodgson. Lillian Eva Holden. Raymond John Humphrey. Sean Emery Johnson. Stephen Richard Johnson. Patrick Edward Jollymore. Dominic Allen Jolly. Lydia Rose Joyce. Joshua Robert Judge. Nolan Patrick Kavanaugh. Melissa Ann Keeley. Alex James Kelleher. Olivia Melinda Kelly. Cameron Patrick Kelly. Aaron Glenn Kennan. John Robert Koval. Sarah Elizabeth Krusper. Evangelina Anastasia Laboy. Samantha Elizabeth Lalonde. Brooke Kateri Lamoth. Lauren Ashley Lamoro. Garrett Christopher Lane. Emma Catherine Lee. Cameron James Legvold. Jordan Mackenzie Lemieux. Kaylee Marie Leon. Jennifer Elizabeth Lerman. Mason Alexander Lorick. Gavin Walter McDonald. Mackin Daniel McDonald. Devin Michelle McEachran. Michelle Elizabeth Maciel. Hope Marie McKenzie. Andrew John McLean. Haley Marie McLean. Hannah Jean Maffio. Ryan David Manson. Jacqueline Ruthann Marchant. Marco Antonio Martinez. Christian Amika Matamoros. George William Matovu. Austin Michael McCaig. Kayla Ann McCaig. Benjamin James McKay. Colin Ronald McNaught. Gracelyn Hartwick Medina. Laura Mello dos Santos. Sydney Ann Menard. Catherine Jane Merritt. Jacqueline Bridget Myers. Emily Jean Milne. Garrett Stone Mixkel. Jason Philip Malia. Gabriella Jasmine Moreno. Maeve Catherine Moynihan. Shane Michael Murphy. David Thomas Naughton. Melissa George Nicholas. Scott Michael Noftly. Samantha Noel Nugent. Kyle John Obst. Samantha Taylor Ogden. Robert John O'Keefe. Nicholas Joseph Oliveira. Connie Vin Ong. Brienne Marie O'Rourke. Julie Elizabeth Ozek. Danielle Lynn Palomo. Erica Lee Rose Pantanella. George Roland Paolella. Katrina Ann Papa. Alexander William Papagiorgio. Tatum Catherine Pecci. Joshua Paul Pelletier. Emma Lee Pereira. Zachary David Pereira. Isabel Marie Pitcher. Andrew Joseph Pierce. Colby Eugene Pierce. Destiny Marie Porter. Sydney Maria Quinn. Kyle Anthony Raymond. Craig Stephen Reardon Jr. Christopher Darren Rapucci. Timothy Daniel Rivers. Jenna Marie Rogers. Vanessa Ann Rogers. Joshua Darren Rosado. Justin Carl Joseph Rosberg. Evelyn Victoria Rowe. Chloe Lavella Satterfield. Michael Thomas Schmidt. Samantha Emily Schultz. Jeremy Stephen Sensaba. Kenneth Douglas Small. Brandon Scott Smith. Lindsay Jacqueline Smith. Zenthia Song. Jonathan Frank Spinelli. Jocelyn Helena Stavros. Krista Marie Stracalursi. Benjamin Scott Strange. James Robert Strickler. Kyle Paul Strong. Jack Thomas Sutherland. Ray Patricia Sutherland. Michaela Lynn Svensson. Rudy Carl Sylvester. James Kenneth Taggart. William Collick Timmons. John Fotis Saousis. Peter Theodore Saousis. Ashley Elizabeth Turi. Lauren Ashley Van Gorder. Gabrielle Jane Vitiello. Bridget Julia Voto. Matthew Ryan Wagner. Nicholas Anthony Walsh. Cole Joseph Westcott. Stephen Anthony Wilson. Tyler Joseph Wilson. Brandon Frank Wynn. Brian Justin Wong. Emily Paige Woods. Matthew Lawrence Zimmer.
I present to you the graduates of the class of 2018. Parents and friends, I just ask that you stay seated until all of the graduates have recessed out. And at this time, I call Caitlin back up to do the tassel.
I just feel short. Class of 2018, at this time, transfer your tassel from right to left.